All right, friends, family, fans, welcome back to a Wednesday episode of Back Nine Bets, hacking it in Hollywood, some last minute DFS thoughts, and who better to have for some last minute DFS thoughts than my good friend Eric Darbo from Sweet Spot DFS on YouTube and on Twitter. Dobbs, what's cooking, brother?
Not much, man. How are you?
Wednesday nights are always a scramble for me, but managed to get
Same.
all the slides put together and it's been a good day. So we're kind of getting through the stuff and the hustle and the bustle. Looking forward to a fun week at the Mexico. We got some names. Got some serious names. We got some creator golfers. We got it all this week.
That we do.
Yeah. So we'll kind of get into that here in the little back and nine section of the show. We're going to get into the hacking in Hollywood after that. It's going to be a fun little time, and I'm going to rock and roll with some options for you. But before we do that, Darbo, I know you've been on the show before, but in a nutshell, for people, I've got a few new subscribers and things like that and some new eyeballs on the show. In as good of a nutshell as you can, I will preface it with saying, go and check out Eric Darbo's Sweet Spot DFS YouTube. There's a video that will pretty much describe exactly what the Sweet Spot DFS thing is, but it is a thing that works because you took down a winner-take-all contest last week.
That we did. It was awesome, man. It's the 1K winner-take-all. Like DraftKings has had it forever, but it was a 1.5K. So, and I love winner-take-alls. My favorite contest of all time.
Why?
Well, so I'm a low-stakes player. Like I put maybe like $25 to $50 in a week. Yeah. And what better bang for your buck than doing a winner take all? You know, like if you think about it, if you only have $25 to put in, and I'm one that loves to build like 100 lineups, 100 plus lineups, because I'm trying to cover basically every base that I possibly can. I can't put in 100 drive the green contest, the $5 contest. Not saying I can put 100 winner take alls with the $1, but there are 25-cent winner take alls. And that's where like I really fell in love with the winner take alls, because you're only playing against 238 other people. Yep. And if you're only putting $25 in and you win one of those, you get $50 in return. Boom. So over time, I've kind of built up my bankroll where now I'm putting in $50 to $75 a week, and I will dupe a lineup into two different winner take all contests. So this whole year, I've been winning those little 25-cent winner take alls to build up my bankroll. So this last week, I put in like $127 worth of things, and boom, hit that $1,500 one plus the other quarter winner take alls. So I ended up, I think, profiting like $1,700. It was amazing.
Dude, that's it, man. That's so freaking cool. And that's what we all strive for in DFS, you know, like having that 1 week that kind of gets us good for the rest of the year or for a few months, you know, like that's the way to rock and roll in DFS. And that's what Sweet Spot DFS is finding that optimal sweet spot, right? So like what exactly about last week did you kind of follow along to kind of make sure that you found the optimal?
So,
or the best lineup out of the 238.
You asked me to do this in a nutshell. The best way I can possibly do it is I'm analyzing past performances. So last week was the Genesis Invitational. I'm analyzing past performances just inside the top 10 of each of those leaderboards. So 2013 to 2023 Genesis Invitational, who finished inside the top 10? What did their stats look like heading into the tournament? Like, as far as I know, I think I'm the only person that I know of that does snapshots of stats and analyze those snapshots as they came into the tournament. And then I put it all into a bucket system, is what I call it.
Yeah.
And basically I say, you want X amount of these golfers, X amount of these golfers. And by the way, if you know, different, how many combinations you can put together, there are thousands of combinations you can put together. I try to find the most optimal one. And it's just looking at, a handful of things. I've been toying around with, I think my success last week was me toying around with what I call the 7K combo buckets. And it's really just like putting all of it into one big bucket and trying to figure out, okay, which 7K golfers have the best opportunity to finish inside the top 10. And
Based
Hideki
off all the
Matsuyama
rules.
was my top
And
guy. So
dude, yeah.
Decky was in like most of my lineups, you know, and then I also had Will Zalatoris in there too, because if you go and watch the pod, either it was this last one for the Mexico, or if you even go back to the Genesis Invitational, I even had the timestamp for you right now, 1 minute, 20 seconds. Or no, 1 hour, 20 minutes.
1 hour, 20 seconds. Right off the bat, baby.
The 1 hour, 20 minute mark, I start talking about those combo buckets, and I give you kind of the rules. I give you rules as to how to build your lineups, and it just worked out for me. And it's been working out for me for the last 4 weeks, and I implemented it during the American Express, and it's been nuts, man.
Dude, that's so nice. It's awesome. Go and watch Darbo's stuff. 1 hour and 2 minutes, you said?
1 hour, 20 minutes. Yeah.
1 hour, 20 minutes.
Mark.
That's the magic number from the Genesis, probably, right?
Yep.
That show. Beautiful. So go check that out. Check out, I think in the description, the whole bucket system will be explained in there too. Yes. I think you have those links in there. It's a really cool, really nerdy, really like model mania for me. You know, like I love what you do, and I've learned so much from watching your show on Tuesday nights after mine. You know, I think we kind of do a good job of hanging out in each other's shows, which is kind of fun. So it's been nice to get you on the show again, because we have some beef. You know, you and I, we have stuff to squash. We have qualms. We have beef. So we'll kind of get into it as we go down the board of some back or nines. Yeah. But for those of you watching for the first time, we're going to be doing back or nine. Yeah, I'm going to provide Darbo with 2 golfers to choose from, similar range, similar kind of ownership. You're going to back one and say 9 to the other, aka German no. So back or 9 for either one of the golfers we're doing. And I'll start off right off the top rope over here with Thomas Dietrich at 10,100 or Keith Mitchell at 9,900. Back or 9, Darbo?
So wait. Okay, so Dietrich would be back and Mitchell would be 9.
If you choose that route, yes.
That's the route we choose.
All right. Why?
To be fair, they're pretty equal.
Mm-hmm.
And the only added bonus is my beef with you for Thomas Dietrich.
Yes, we have a beef. We got a case of Keystone on the line, yeah. And I already owe Darbo a case myself. But I don't know if our original bet with Tom Kim to finish inside the top 15 of Pebble was me owing you one back. I think you were just being cheeky and saying, okay, I will foot you the bill. That's how I'm interpreting it. We never had any clauses or anything like that. But now, I don't know. Do you drink beer at all, Dobbs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we can put a case on the line here, because you said Thomas Dietrich is going to finish inside the top 15 and be part of one of the optimal lineups potentially. Yeah,
so I actually feel pretty confident. I mean, I was building lineups last night. I was building lineups a little bit before jumping on here. I'm really falling in love with Nikolai Højgaard, and I also am afraid of fading Tony Finau completely. And then Emiliano Grillo's up there. So like with the buckets, everything that I do, I still think there's going to be 2 10K golfers inside the top 10. And I'm going to be real with you. I'm feeling less confident about Dietrich now than I was when I first made that bet. But we're just going to, we're going to stick to our guns and say Dietrich is going to be top 15, but I'm going to say top 10. I think we're going to have Dietrich in the top 10.
All right. We'll go with top 15. I think that's fair. We did go with the same number for Tom Kim in an elevated event that was cut short 3 days. You know, Tom would have definitely surged up the leaderboard there on Sunday had they played.
Sure.
Who the hell knows? But yeah. So
also,
in my opinion,
really quick, I'd say Dietrich. I actually liked his Farmers Insurance Open. I know he faded on Sunday, but I really did. Just about like 90% of golfers have one bad round, and I don't care where it comes from. I think Dietrich is still going to have a good performance at this event.
Yeah, he'll have 3 amazing. I think I'll be playing him in round 1 showdown for the $5, and you know, like he's a definite showdown candidate throughout the week. I think that's just how he goes until Sunday, and then his one bad round is always on Sunday, it seems. So that's just my beef with him. I don't trust him to get across the line. But the same could be said about Keith Mitchell, Steven Yeager, Patrick Rogers. All of these guys are guys that play good until they need to play great. And then when that opportunity presents itself, they can't quite step up to the plate, right?
Lovable losers.
Lovable losers, not so clutch in the clutch moments and things are that way. So I will present to you then we'll go into the 9K range here. And back Steven Yeager or back Patrick Rogers, 2 perennial round 4 ridiculous reverse gear situations.
I know the cut percentage for Steven Yeager. His cut and made percentage is insane.
Elite. Like it's one of the best on the PGA Tour. That's not like a Scotty Scheffler or whatnot.
I was looking at it because I wanted to buy some Rainmaker cards.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God. Like it's 95% cut made percentage from the last year, just this last year. It's like, okay, so with that, I'm going to back Yeager and I'm going to deny Rogers.
Deny?
Yeah.
Nine. Deny
Rogers.
Yeah.
9. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I've got a top 10 on Patrick Rogers because I just think that's the way to go with him. He's one of these guys that's like boom or bust in a way. I'm not going to like lay tons of exposure on him for a top 20 where, like a top 10, I think you can get away with a bit of a sneaky value there from Rogers, who typically plays well here, but I do not like him and Dietrich. I think there was a matchup that I saw that had Thomas Dietrich versus Patrick Rogers. And I was just like giggling to myself because that is like it's like 1A and 1A, not even like 1B. It's literally the same 2 guys. I'm not sure I've seen anyone worse than Patrick Rogers when he's in contention, like especially based off of how good he was coming out of college, right? Wasn't he like prior to who just recently came out that beat his records? Or is he the record holder still?
I think it was Morikawa that just came out, if I remember correctly. And then Rogers either tied or broke Tiger's records at Stanford.
So either way, like the pedigree was impeccable coming out of college. And then when he gets into these clutch moments on the PGA Tour, it's pretty tough. So I will definitely also go with Yeager because I was hoping to see what we typically see from Yeager when he was at the Farmers, and he's starting to hang tough. At least that one round that I saw on Sunday never quite got over the finish line, but the putter started getting a little jittery, but the rest of his game was still like he's starting to really play good golf and under pressure at the Farmers. Like if you can handle your stuff at the Farmers, which it wasn't like an elevated event or anything, but that's still a big event to any sort of PGA professional, right? It's like an esteemed venue. People want to play well there. And the field was semi-loaded, it had some big names in it.
Right.
That just never showed up. So I like Yeager a lot this week, actually. I've changed my tune on him. Hideki Matsuyama has opened my eyes to Darbo, let's take a second here, and I need you to be my on the, one of my favorite shows is Football Guys, with Sigmund Bloom and Cecil Lammey, but mainly Sigmund Bloom's On the Couch show. He gets a guest on there and they're on the couch and they work through their problems. So I'm going to take a page or a note out of his pod, and I need you to help me because you in your show, I'm always in the chat on a Tuesday night, and you're saying, too much maniac there, Byron. Too much. Like I've developed this irrational hatred towards people like Shane Lowry, Hideki Matsuyama, Matthew Fitzpatrick, and it's starting to fester with Ludwig Aubert now.
Yeah.
Help.
Well, yet I'll remember always, every golfer that's on tour has won in their life to get here. There's no other way to get to the PGA Tour without winning.
Yes.
So they're all capable of winning on tour. That's just kind of the baseline, just to remember that everyone is capable of doing that. Furthermore, everyone's capable of a top 10. And we're playing the DraftKings game. I know you bet. I can't bet in Minnesota, but if we're playing just DraftKings, you need to put 6 golfers together to hopefully all get inside the top 10. Well, people like Peter Malnati can get inside the top 10. People like Brian Gay can get inside the top 10 for just good events, whether that be the Memorial, where you would think, how in the heck would Brian Gay finish inside the top 10? He doesn't hit the ball far enough, you know? These golfers can put it together at any point in time. Your Ludwig Oberg hatred, I would kind of equate that to, I'd imagine you think he has so much more potential than what he's provided, but what he's provided so far is so good, you know, where it's like, why have that? Because it's like kind of being a parent with really high expectations and being very disappointed in your children for not, you know, or not so much being disappointed, but not showing them enough love because they didn't get all A's on their scorecard or on their
A-
report
got
card.
you in trouble.
Exactly. Right. I think that's kind of how you treat the Ludwig Obergs and some of these other high-end talents. But at the same time, you got to remember, like, Hideki Matsuyama is a perennial golfer. He's elite. He just has been battling injury. So you got to remember, these guys can always, you know, if they're feeling good, boom, they put it together and they do really well.
Yeah. And I think, you know, while you were speaking there, love that you went to the parent, you know, infancy situation. I feel like that's where a lot of our root problems come from. So digging into our parents and how we grew up as children, definitely a good start for the couch. But I think by nature, I've always been contrarian, you know, like I'm kind of like an extrovert, kind of like always up swimming against the grain. And I think the hype on Ludwig is just, you know, I think that's what's giving me this.
I agree, actually. That's another good point you just brought up. Yeah.
This festered feeling towards him, like, you know, like I feel like he's overachieved, especially going into Pebble, where I didn't think he would play well there because he's not a good wedge player, all that kind of stuff. Then he lands up in second spot, and I was just waiting for that final round for him to kind of blow up, because if you take a look at his round by round stuff, he's got that Saturday problem where he just kind of ejects out of the lead and then kind of elites his way back up the leaderboard in round 4.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for that on Sunday to kind of see what can he do in these big tournaments. We go to Riv, and you know, like, we had so many guys miss the top of the board, so he wasn't like highlighted that he wasn't in the mix, but he wasn't in the mix either. He did make the cut though. We had guys like JT missing it, but the hype to me is just a little too much for Ludwig.
And that's another good point, because that's when I listen to you sometimes talk, I'm like, oh, come on, Byron. Now you're like you're picking at straws, you know. It's not that big of a deal, you know. I literally want to say that, but I'm typing and we're on a 10-second delay. I know whenever it's going to get to you, you're already going to be past that topic and whatever you read. That's why I said just wait till we get together so we can, you know, hash it out.
I appreciate that. I feel like we've taken a journey through my past. We've kind of figured out I got contrarianism issues, so we're dealing with it on a go forward basis. Yeah. So speaking of contrarian situations, yeah, Davis Thompson, ultra popular this week, Darbo, and Mark Hubbard, not so popular, not the best course fit, but arguably a much better iron player than a much better iron player than Davis Thompson. And I think he might be kind of like, for the people that like to play the ownership game, a great pivot off of Davis Thompson this week. So back or 9, Mark Hubbard and Davis Thompson.
Back Hubbard, 9 Thompson. I don't know why people like Thompson. Why do people like Thompson?
He graded out exceptionally well for me because he's the best par 5 scorer in this field.
Okay.
But also, I'm asking you the questions, Darbo. You need to give me your opinion on these guys. Why am I answering you? Don't turn this around on me.
Don't answer a question with a question. I honestly, I think Thompson at his price tag, especially on DraftKings, sure, maybe he deserves to be there in this field, but I think I might have a little bit of a bias towards Thompson. I think the guy is a dweeb. Like, I don't want to play. He just, I don't know, man. There's like a moodiness that comes with him whenever I watch him play. That's like, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing so great. And I'm, you know, this is just my interpretation. I could be completely off on it. I think he's a loser. You know, like, I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that we're going to be seeing at the end of the tournament inside the top 5. Now, he could be inside the top 10. He could be inside the top 20. He could win you money.
Yeah.
Hubbard is a grinder. He sure. So there's sometimes that I was listening to Chad Eckert's podcast today, and he's like, he just doesn't seem like he's ever in a hurry. He doesn't seem like he takes things seriously and stuff like that. It's like the guy played in 28 events last year. I think it was 31 events dating back, a full year. I think he does okay, and this is an event where I could see him excelling. So I would much rather take Hubbard over Thompson.
Yes. And I'll kind of we're not going to get to the Dexter portion just yet, but the body language of Davis Thompson and the body language of Harris English, they both have those sunken eyes that make me really believe that they have someone locked up in their basement. You know what I'm saying? Like Harris English in particular.
You're picking on the Harry Ish? Come on.
The Harry Ish is, Harry, Dexter's dad. I wouldn't be surprised to see any sort of crossover there. But those two guys have the most serial killer vibes I've ever experienced from any golf on the PGA. They've got this slothy, lanky demeanor on the course, and this this sunken, I'm not trying to fly above the radar here. We're trying to stay underneath it. We're going to play some good golf every now and then. And I feel like Harris English in particular is that guy for sure. So I'm right there with Rose. She's she knows a serial killer when she sees one too. So
that's a good, let's keep it that way. Let's just call everyone a serial killer that we go through.
Dude, so is also a really good, or historically, not so much recently, got off to a bit of a rough start, but Justin Suh. He's one of these guys. Speaking about, sorry, Rose, my bad. You're a guy. Well, he's a guy, dude. Are you wearing khakis? That's my main question. You got a really weird looking profile picture there. It's got a heart. I don't typically see that but I'm sorry. What's up, my brother? Sorry about that. Hate to hit you with the State Farm reference there. So let's speak about Justin Suh. I was going to compare him to Steven Yeager, because to me, Steven Yeager is a premier version of Justin Suh. Make these cuts at a ridiculous. Justin Suh was making cuts at also a 90% clip for a while, and it's kind of regressed into the 80s now, I think.
88.
But if you take a look at his top 40 rate, you'd think making that amount of cuts would translate to a lot more top 40s. It's less than half of his made cuts are top 40s. What? To me, that just screams whoo, I don't know. So I'll give you another guy that's kind of in the same boat. Maverick McNeely or Justin Suh, back or nine. Two perennial guys. Suh at least gets himself into the mix every now and then. But Mav, holy cow, when he's in the mix or when the pressure's mounted, no dice. So back or nine, Maverick McNeely, Justin Suh.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's why I do this, dude. I know what I'm doing.
Because I have kind of good feelings about McNeely this week. What we just saw from him the last showing kind of is putting him on the projection that we thought he would be before he got injured. Which, by the way, McNeely was the Stanford guy. It wasn't...
Dude, even crazier then to think about how putrid he is in precious. I mean, that may be just a Stanford thing now.
It wasn't Morikawa, because I had to look it up right after I said it. It was McNeely was the Stanford guy. Okay, yeah, this is tough, dude, because Justin Suh, as I've been building lineups, obviously I use the bucket system. I use my optimizer to do so. With the other guys that I like, Justin Suh just shows up a ton. And when I look throughout the entire industry, listening to all the things I listen to, it's nobody's on Justin Suh. This feels and I don't really care about pivoting off of ownership. I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
This almost seems like a natural way to get on Justin Suh at low ownership. If you're even playing the game theory aspect, it's I like Justin Suh, but I also think Mav McNeely is going to be the Will Zalatoris of last week. And there are these the injury connection. I'm not trying to make here's where you can talk me down from. I'm not, maybe subconsciously, I'm like, ooh, Zalatoris is coming back from injury. He was playing well right before he played the Genesis. So, and then once he did, that means McNeely, who was playing well before this tournament, coming back from injury, is going to do well too. Maybe I'm making those patterns in my head, but I do like McNeely this week. I like Suh. Just to be different here, I'm going to back Suh and I'm going to 9 McNeely.
Yeah, I think Suh gives you a better chance of seeing the weekend. I think McNeely gives you a better chance of potentially getting a. I don't know. I don't think I actually even like McNeely anyway. I don't think this is the course for him. It's too long of a golf course for him, I think. I don't know. We'll have to. We'll wait and see. But I think I'll back you with there on Justin Suh. But neither really brings me joy when speaking about them. That was a tough call. But
I actually like those guys, both of them.
Boy.
So we're different on this.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't trust either of them to really take care of business when I need them in 150 max kind of contest, right? I'm going to need some upside from guys I'm rostering. If they boom or bust, so be it, but
sure.
We'll have to see. So I've got another two options for you in the sevens now. Alejandro Tosti and Jonathan Vegas.
Toasty. Backing Toasty way over Vegas. Way over Vegas.
What's Vegas's issue?
He doesn't really have an issue. I just think the upside with Vegas is much lower than Toasty. Like if I'm going to try to win a GPP this week, or I'm going to try to win an outright, I'm going Toasty over Vegas. Like I'm not a definitive dude. Like I don't want to go 100% in on someone, but I'll go 99.9% on Toasty, 0.1% on Vegas.
I'm loving Toasty this week too, dude. I think especially in Mexico, I think he's going to be shining. And I think Vegas is going to be I bet him outright along with the rest of Twitter, basically. Okay. So we'll see what happens there. And typically when guys are the most popular bets for winners,
it works out well.
They catch some steam in the DFS world, and
yeah,
you know how it goes. I think Brian Harmon at the Charles Schwab was one of the most crazy, chalk busts of all time. I think like 2 years ago.
I think JT last week was the craziest chalk bust of all time.
How do you miss a cut in a fifth in a 70? Yes.
I honestly, so I play competitive golf. I've played with so many different people. Psychology is such a huge deal when it comes to golf. And I don't know if I was saying this to you, but I think JT is a bit of like I don't know the right word, but I used pacifist. Like I think him being with Tiger, he's like your best friend who sees you're struggling, so he struggles worse than you to make you feel better.
Yeah. And for us, he's the 9 or the 6 sitting next to the 8 that makes the 8 look like a 10 or a 9, in the bar. Yep. But a pacifist, dude, he's the buddy that when you're struggling, he struggles harder. That is hilarious, dude.
Hey,
that's exactly it.
If you've got the data, I don't have it. I have it, but I haven't put it together. If you look to see how well JT does with Tiger, because I thought about that. Like I obviously do the marquee tee times in my whole process, and I looked at that. I'm like, of course Tiger's going to play with JT.
Yep.
Like that's like Tiger handpicked that. He handpicked that. And he wanted JT with him. And to me, I'm like, now that I see that, because JT was my favorite, I know, along with everyone else's, last week, it was like, he's going to do terrible. He's not going to win this tournament being paired with Tiger.
No. And I was expecting him to kind of bounce back on Saturday like he typically does. Like once he's, like all the expectations are off, time to bounce back.
Friday when Tiger withdrew.
Yeah. And then he went off, I think he rattled off like 1 or 2 birdies and then kind of just lost steam again. So what a disaster that was. But hey, life goes on. We'll have to wait and see what JT gets up to. I won't be betting him outright at all because I just don't think he's a live ad guy. When he's way down the leaderboard, you add him at like 80-1 on a Saturday morning.
I think his next event, he's going to finish top 10.
Yeah. I mean, I totally think he's like Xander and Cantley nowadays. Like these top tier guys are just, we've lost these killers, dude.
Yeah,
completely lost. Like the PGA Tour's bereft of savages. Even Scotty is like lacking that stuff now. Like it's just So
yep.
We'll have
Scar
to take a
tissue
look.
is a real thing, by the way. Scar tissue, just like you, I think with a lot of your contrarian viewpoints, I think that was built by scar tissue of people, disappointing you in the past.
Yes. So don't let them get too hyped up. My saying in life has always been, hope for the best, expect the worst.
Oh, same. Yeah, same.
Boom. I mean, if you go by that, you're going to be just fine going through life. All right. Let's do our final one here before we dive into some Dexter. Joseph Bramlett, $6,800, and Parker Coody, which $6,500. So $300 difference. Both premier ball strikers, both got tons of distance off the tee, both played relatively well at the Farmers, which I'm kind of using as like a bit of a mini springboard for some decision, tiebreaker situations for guys that are playing this week. Joseph Bramlett or Parker Coody, back or 9?
That's really good. I'm kind of, I know Bramlett's been being talked up quite a bit throughout the industry. It's obviously a really good place for him since he just bombs the ball. And he's also been playing pretty good. Okay, so I was looking this up, like Rainmaker wise, because I want to buy cards that are gonna go into next week's event and the week after.
Okay.
And like Bramlett, it doesn't look so bad, but I remember looking him up, just his last previous performances, and he didn't look that great. I don't know if I'm wrong on that, but
no. I mean, going into the Farmers, he was 8-1 for a top 20. So it was like a massive number on his name for a top 20 because wasn't playing good, but he like Cameron Champ and co. Sometimes when they get to these courses that suit their skill set, like bombing drives, long irons, they play well at these kind of places.
See, and okay, this is what I saw. I just pulled them up again. WM Phoenix Open +4.
Yeah.
American Express -4 when the cut was -12.
Yeah.
So dude. Okay. Before looking all this up today, and prior to us talking, I would have said Bramlett all day, but I'm going to actually go Parker Coody. I'm going to back Parker Coody in 9, Bramlett.
I think Parker's he's like basically a Joseph Bramlett. If you think about both of the Coody brothers can absolutely nuke it off the tee. I think Parker
without scar tissue. They don't have scar tissue on the PGA Tour.
Fresh blood, baby. Fresh blood. So speaking of fresh blood,
segue.
Wow, my subconscious out here doing the Lord's work for us. We are back in Hacking in Hollywood. We're going to be speaking about Dexter. What a great show. For a few shows prior to this in Hacking in Hollywood, other segments, I've been doing the best of different characters to try and just, catch. That's just the easiest way to kind of go through all the different seasons quickly. This week, I just decided, I'm just going to watch the Trinity Killer season. I felt like that was the most relatable to everybody that has watched Dexter. I feel like it was the most prominent, arguably one of the best, the ones at least I can remember the most of, because I did watch it last in college, like 8 years ago, 10 years ago. The Trinity Killer season, I knew exactly what would happen. I could remember exactly that season. It was epic. It was, watching it for the first time it was plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, and it ends just horrifically, terrible ending to that season. Great season, but terrible ending. Not like a bad ending from a viewing perspective, but just emotionally just rip your heart out, Right. So let's get into it, Darbo.
Okay.
Talk to me about, maybe do you have a favorite season? Maybe do you have like a favorite character? Just your overall, why did you choose Dexter? As I know I shot down a few options early because you were telling me stuff I hadn't watched, but why did we land up on Dexter?
So Dexter has just a multitude of characters, and they're all different. Like if you look at all the characters, how they act, how they interact with each other and stuff like that, I thought it would be the easiest, to be honest, I thought it would be the easiest to compare to golfers on the PGA Tour or on Live or whatever. I did have Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as one of the other ones, but I chose Dexter because I don't watch shows that much. If I'm watching shows, it's because I'm dating someone who likes to watch shows. So like just recently, I've been watching Ted Lasso with my girlfriend. Like, so like Ted Lasso, I asked you, you're like, nope, somebody already has it. It's like, okay, fine. You know, it's like, okay, then Game of Thrones was the next one. You're like, somebody already has that, which I think it was last week with John.
Yes.
So I'm like, well, the only show I watched on my own outside of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was Dexter. I used to watch Dexter when Netflix still had DVDs that you ordered, and I literally could not wait to order the next DVD. Yeah. So I would, have it sent in, and then I also got to the point where I could order 2. So I'd watch one, return one, and ask for the second, the next one. So I was always able to watch the shows.
Yeah. So
I watched this religiously. Like this was one of those, and I won't lie, the only homework I did was I watched the end of season 1, the Ice Truck Killer, just to remind myself of the characters and how fresh they were. I think you probably did it right watching the Trinity Killer season, because that literally was I agree with you, the best season. Yeah. And I feel like Trinity was kind of like the Thanos of Dexter to the, the Marvel universe. Yeah. Because that was the biggest dude that Dexter had to go against.
Yeah.
And the Tomcat, yes, I've watched New Blood. Yep.
Yeah, me too.
Which actually, also, there's another comparison I didn't even add that I sent you that we could use. My Dexter's son, you could actually use for the New Bloods. It works.
Okay, well, let's get to that. Let's knock it out, and then we'll dive into because I'm not going to remember to go back to that.
That's fair. All right.
So what's your comp?
So for Dexter,
for the New Blood one.
Oh,
the son.
Do I want to give away my Dexter? Because I'm going to have to.
All right. No. Yeah. Let's do Dexter OG. Tomcat trying to derail the show, but also New Blood, great. It was not nearly as, it's tough to beat the OG Dexter, great show, but still, New Blood was pretty darn good. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about you had a lot more comps than I did, so I'm kind of just letting you ride. You'll probably go back to back, and then I'll put my guy in kind of thing. You had Deb, who's your comp for was JT. We've spoken about it already. Let's rock and roll.
So I thought of different ways of doing this. So Deb originally was Tyrrell Hatton for obvious reasons.
Yes.
Because of swearing.
Yes.
But Deb protects Dexter and does it irrationally, does it without, whatever. So I had to think of a Dexter, and obviously there's a Dexter. Dexter has a dark passenger. He has all these bad things that are going on. Who would protect Dexter? So I needed to find a Dexter. So I picked Deb because Justin Thomas would protect his Dexter at all costs. And also JT lost a sponsorship because he blurted something out like Deb would.
Yes.
Deb would lose a sponsorship if she had any. And that's why I chose Justin Thomas, mostly because he is the supporter of my Dexter.
All right. I love it. I love the slur that popped up on the hot mic. I love the supporting character reference to kind of keep that the pacifist in the mix. And it would be unjust to kind of let me go or someone else without saying who your Dexter is. So let's roll right into it.
Yeah. This is for so many obvious reasons.
All right.
So many reasons. Dexter has a dark passenger that he needs to feed. Now, this will be controversial. If I ever make it big time, I could probably get canceled because anybody who speaks out against Tiger disappears. Literally, anybody in the media, if you're on the Golf Channel or whatever, and you say bad things about Tiger, you no longer have a job.
Yes.
So
that is spot on. That is so spot on, dude.
So there are reasons why Tiger and Dexter, Dexter has his faults. Tiger has his faults. And Tiger has a couple dark passengers. We already know that from a lot of the documentaries that came out. And if you don't know them, go look them up. So why I chose Dexter were so many reasons. And going to the New Blood thing,
sure,
Charlie is a perfect.
Oh my God.
son comp to Dexter, because I don't think Charlie will be anything like Tiger. Well, we hope at least, growing up and doing the morality, like moral thing, the morally right thing.
Right. That's great to think about too. I'm really concerned for Charlie because it's like a Justin Bieber situation, basically.
Yep.
Like it's that level of stardom, and he's not even like supremely talented like Biebs was, but I see what, like what's going on there. I think he's playing in a Monday queue from what I saw somewhere.
The Cognizant. Yeah.
So what
Good
the
for
hell's that?
him.
But also to get back to Tiger and Dexter, Tiger, a killer. I mean, let's just be like,
oh, that's good too. Yeah.
Like when he's in the heat of the battle, talk about like the PGA Tour being bereft of killers when they have to finish out a tournament. Tiger, you never wanted Tiger behind you. You never wanted to be hunted down. And when he was in front of you, you were hardly ever catching him, right? Like he was going to end that tournament crazy quickly. So it was over before it started, to quote the Trinity Killer. It's already over.
Dude, Pterodactyl just said something so funny.
Tigers, what that
was it. The blood splatter. Yes.
So Tiger's shot tracker did resemble a blood spatter pattern at Riv.
That's so good. Oh God, look at all the comps right now. This is good.
Yeah, dude, we've got some seriously good ones. And Tiger, like leaving injured from the heat of the battle lately, like Dexter never ever gets, later in the season, his attacks and his ambushes just they lack clinical like precision. They get messy, and it's been like that with Tiger since he's returned. So yeah, Tomcat, you're asking a lot of questions that we're going to provide you with the answers here. Hang tight, Cassie. Hang tight. I've got to give you my Dexter comp first, and it's Scotty Scheffler.
Ooh.
Because Scotty Scheffler, and I just want to make sure I pull up because I had a whole bunch of good things here for him. All right, so Scotty Scheffler lives a double life, just like Dexter. Spoiler alerts are allowed in this show. Dexter lives the life as the blood splattered analyst, and then he's a serial killer in the dark. Scotty Scheffler from Tee to Green is clinical. He's precise. He is under the microscope precise, so to speak, when it comes to Tee to Green play. When you get on the greens, it's a bloodbath massacre. Like the double life that Scotty Scheffler lives between those two realms of strokes gained it's exactly how Dexter does his thing. They don't like attention whatsoever. Neither of them like to be on people's radar. Scotty loves to be under the radar. He drives an old sedan that he pretty much grew up with the whole time. So that's his situation there. If you take a look at, Scotty's feet, they're all over the place, constantly moving. That's like an unsolved mystery of swing mechanics. Like we just don't know what's going on. Dexter, the Bay Harbor Butcher, like all these murders are just always unsolved mysteries that he has to kind of just scatter his feet and bags and body bags across the harbor. So to me, that's the situation there. For Scotty, there's a bit of a reach in some departments, but the double life that Scotty Scheffler lives on a strokes gained world.
I love that.
Is it for me?
I like that route that you took. That is, that's spot on.
Yeah. I've been doing a few of these now, so I'm starting to figure out how to kind of piece these people together. Also trying to put interesting characters that like you won't suspect, because a lot of the guests, you'll see there'll be some recurring guys, and right off the bat, Rory makes it into the show. Pretty much every other show, he's a polarizing character, and I feel like with all the live stuff, there's lots of ammo for him. So hit me with why you had La Guerta, the captain, also as Rory.
Yes. Well, La Guerta, especially in season 1, and you'll find this out throughout all the seasons, she has to play politics. She has to make the captain happy. She has to talk to the press, and then she has to come back and tell the players. Well, not the players, her cast, or, her team, which I'll call Rory, with the players, has to tell them another thing. Hey, I said this to the, for political reasons, but honestly, we're going to do it this way. And I feel like that's spot on Rory. Yes. Now, there was a connection because La Guerta and Batista get married. So I literally wanted to put Jordan Spieth here for La Guerta, because now Jordan Spieth is on the Players Council and Rory is no longer. and who I have as Batista is for a different reason, but I thought for political reasons, because we haven't really heard much of what Spieth says. Spieth is like off the cuff, and he's very transparent, where LaGuerta is not, and I don't think Rory is either. So that's
transparent. Yeah, Rory's very calculated for the most part.
Correct, and same with LaGuerta. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely agree. And a very, very prominent figure. I mean, Spieth doesn't walk into the room and command attention and respect, whereas I feel like Rory, before all of this kind of went down and halfway through, he was the guy people looked up to, in a time of crisis. He was that spearhead. So I agree there too, dude. Solid comp. Poor Rory, dude. He gets cast in all these dire roles, like that often end in misery. But hey, life goes on. Speaking of people that have their roles end in misery, you had the Trinity Killer as Greg Norman, who, surprise, surprise, makes yet another appearance in Hacking in Hollywood, because he is the ultimate villain. And we've got the woodwork, the wood framing hammer, and we've got the old, what's that? That looks like a 1-iron or a 2-iron in Greg Norman's hands there.
Well, and Greg is the hammer too. So
oh, dude, the hammerhead shark. Duh. Is that his actual name? The hammer?
No. It's that. It's that beach picture that went around where you see he's got some equipment that he's packing. That's why.
Okay. Yeah, he's carrying several.
But he's the great white, or he's just the shark. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, hit me, buddy. What's your Trinity Greg Norman comp?
So Greg Norman was Tiger Woods before Tiger Woods became Tiger Woods. One of the best golfers in the world. He obviously didn't get like the major championships done or anything like that. So, much like how Dexter looks up to Trinity to some extent, when you watch that season, he's like, wow, this guy is wonderful. He's like, he almost like fantasizes about being the Trinity Killer, and not so much fantasizes. He compliments Trinity, like everything that he does, like it just, what's the word I'm like, romanticizing, I guess, is what I'm trying to
idolizes.
Like he looks up to him. Yeah. And so because Trinity's older, Greg is older, Tiger doesn't really, I feel like Tiger would have looked up to Greg at some point in time until all of this stuff happened. And then Tiger's like, no more. We're going to squash Greg whenever we can, just like how Dexter ended up squashing Trinity.
Dude. And ultimately they unraveled too, they kind of just, it was all to a degree self-inflicted. I mean, Greg's still like on the outskirts of all this stuff, but we can see him unraveling, right? That's what's cooking. Yeah. And I totally, dude, you're crushing it right now. Like I'm absolutely loving these. And they also like, Greg has looked like the Trinity Killer since he was 25. It's like, this is not an old picture of him. He's got that Australian sun-beaten skin that just makes him look old from the very get-go. So Greg, and also like you see him like he's a pastor, like by the book kind of guy. I read the Greg Norman biography or autobiography of his, and I kind of idolized him as a kid growing up. He was so passionate about golf and came from like tough background and just overcame all odds and became one of the greatest. And then this, so a tough turn of events, but that's how it goes in life. All right. My Trinity Killer is Nick Taylor.
Ooh.
All right. So as you should be watching this, because that's just a way better way to consume this part of the content, Back Nine Bets speaking about it, all that stuff. You can listen on Spotify and all that. But on the screen, we got a framing hammer in Trinity's hand and Nick Taylor's putter. And that is the weapon of mass destruction for both these guys. If you take a look at what Nick Taylor has done, he is the definition of the Trinity Killer. Scotty Scheffler was on the way for a three-peat at the Waste Management Phoenix Open to have the holy trinity of the party tournament in the belt. And Nick Taylor killed that dream for Scotty Scheffler. So he won that tournament. There would have been other Trinity Killers too, Charlie Hoffman, all that stuff. But Nick Taylor was the guy. He is a complete savage. If you land up in a room alone with Nick Taylor in a playoff down the stretch, you are getting hit in the head with a framing hammer.
That's
and
fair.
that is that Rosa putter of his, that Spider red hot putter.
That was definitely a hammer at the Canadian Open for sure.
Oh, dude, he has just been a complete and utter savage when he's clutch. He is one of the we've been saying we've lacked killer instinct. You just know he's going to make every single putt he looks at when he's in contention.
I agree.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable what he's been up to. He gets other family members in the crosshairs. If we speak about Adam Hadwin, we've got he has his other family members hurt. Like Trinity hurts his son's fingers and stuff and beats him up. Adam Hadwin got tackled by the security guard after Nick Taylor won the tournament. So that kind of stuff also definitely impacted that decision, and that's kind of why I went with that. But some seriously quick ones, but concise and to the point for these two guys. So
I like it.
That's my situation there. You had Bautista.
Great picture, dude.
Great picture. I do my best to kind of comp these guys in visual ways too. And Ricky Fowler, with the Fu Manchu kind of mustache. Angel, I mean, he's wonderful. And he's one of my favorite characters. He's always kind of keeping it low key.
I've got a couple reasons why I chose Bautista or Ricky as Bautista. Like I said, he ends up marrying LaGuerta. So Ricky and Jordan Spieth would be a great, combo. They're best friends. You could put Justin Thomas as LaGuerta. Like it all worked out. But what it ultimately came down to is Bautista ends up retiring from the force because he got burnt out. Does it not feel like Ricky Fowler's game appears to be like he's burnt out? Like thankfully he won, and like that his victory at the Rocket Mortgage, you even said it, where like you had that graphic where his spirit left his body.
Yes.
That was to me like great. I finally did it. And what has he done since? I mean, it was US Open was prior to his win at the Rocket, right?
It was.
Yeah. So it's like, what has he done since? So what I ended up doing, Bautista was difficult to think about. It wasn't like I had LaGuerta was always Rory to me. If it wasn't if Tiger wasn't Dexter, it would have been Rory as Dexter because of the Dark Passenger of Augusta. But I chose Ricky because of the burnout and the loud colors, which is what Bautista. If you go to Dexter's fandom wiki and you look up Bautista and you look at the traits that come with it, he loves wearing button-down shirts, a fedora. I'm pretty sure we could probably find Ricky in a fedora somewhere.
Yes.
The facial hair is one of the other things, which Ricky was sporting that mustache for forever. But it really just comes down to the loud colors, the bright colors, and the burnout factor, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I think that's spot. And I mean, he's checked the hell out, dude. Ricky has checked the hell out. His credit card's on file, but he don't care. He's left the hotel and he's headed home, buddy. So it's spot on. And the hats, I mean, it doesn't have to be a fedora. I mean, just the orange hat for Ricky, just completely fits that build. All right. I got you another one, Darbo. He had Sergeant Dokes as Billy Horschel. I try to get the muscles in there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. So Billy Ho is not a stranger of speaking his mind. He's also not a stranger of being loud as hell, which Dokes definitely was.
Yes.
And if there's one golfer that would just show up and I wouldn't say bury Tiger, but would speak up against Tiger, it'd be Billy Horschel. And if there's one person that I would think that would be like, surprise, motherfucker, that'd be Billy Horschel. So it was just the personality. It's the intensity. It's just the brashness that comes with Billy Ho that I would think he's probably the best, for me, the best comp to Dokes. Do you have one?
I don't have a Dokes comp.
Okay.
But I will add to yours because like you mentioned with Tiger and people going missing, Billy will definitely mention, and like you said, if anyone speaks out to Tiger, they're gone. Dokes got into Dexter's crosshairs and he's
Gone.
He's scattered over scatterings of the Florida swamps now, so
Yup.
he ain't in one piece anymore. And I think at one point, Billy Horschel's game was not in one piece. I mean, so much so that he was crying, So I think, you could kind of put that into perspective. I'll piggyback off of yours. I was a little lazy this week. I saw you had a few, and that kind of gave me an easy way out to kind of leave. I got like 4 or 5. So
No worries.
But I did have Tiger as Dokes from a obviously just jacked city perspective, but that would be one aspect. And then I was thinking Brooks as Dokes as well.
That'd be a good one.
I think their personalities would overlap. I think, their physique, their appearance, their brashness, their alpha male personalities,
True,
kind of thing. So I guess I do have that, and I would have gone with Brooks in that department.
I mean, Dokes just was like one of those guys that was like he's just loud, and he's always picking on on Dexter, always picking on Dexter,
dude. And Dokes has got some great gifts out there, like the surprise motherfucker and the dusting his hands off. I mean, those are 2 epic gifts that are like they transcend pretty much. Even if you haven't watched, you kind of know exactly what Sergeant Dokes was all about. And I mean, he deserved none of the bad stuff that came his way. He was just being a good cop. And that's what I was thinking about going into this, is so many characters landed up on the wrong side of Dexter for just being good people.
Hold on. I was looking at something today. I don't remember when it was, but there was a topic that came across. When did Dexter break the code? The code is always kill bad people. And part of the code, though, is don't get caught. So Dokes died because Dexter was going to get caught. It wasn't because Dokes was a bad person. And there were some other deaths that happened because Dexter couldn't get caught. So that also is part of the code for some of these innocent or good people dying.
Yes. Wow. That's some deep stuff. And, like it's a hierarchy of decisions, right? Because, I think not getting caught is obviously above innocence. So tough scenes there for old Dokes. Times were tough for him, but may he rest in pieces in the swamps of Florida. All right. Here we go, boys. I think
I wish
you
would have used the Patrick Cantlay picture where he's like this, because when he won the Memorial Tournament and he's laughing with Jack there or whatever, he looks like a creep. Patrick Cantlay acts like a creep on the golf course. And if I was to think anyone laughed like Masuka, like but it would be Cantlay. Like that, literally, like when I was thinking, I'm like, do I even add Masuka? And I'm like, well, who would I put as Masuka? And I'm like, oh no, it's Cantlay all the way. Like he's the only creepy, like how he methodical, like there's just a lot of weirdness that I attribute to Patrick Cantlay. Now he ultimately won me the $1,500 last week. His birdie on 18 pole vaulted me into first place. So I can't be like super negative towards Patrick Cantlay, but if there's a weird, creepy dude that like is like really weird with the women, I think it's Patrick Cantlay.
Spot the hell on, dude. And you got the slimy, greasy, like top of the head for Masuka, and then we got the slimy, greasy lips for Cantlay that he's always licking. Like to me, that's also the creepy factor, the constant lip licking all the time. It's like he's eating a bowl of spaghetti that he forgot to kind of like wipe his mouth off after each go around. So great comp. I totally agree. I think Cantlay, like just a full on, I mean, ultimate, like maybe he's not, but I mean, people love to hate on him, and I think Vince also in that same light. I also have a Vince.
Okay.
And it's Danny Lee.
Ooh.
And it's not, I'm going to have to come up with a few extra after I say the first one, but we'll see how it goes. Danny Lee literally moved from Texas to Vegas. And in his interview with the Ironheads, all 4 of the guys were up there. The reporter asked him, so what made you like move from Texas to Vegas? And Danny Lee was, well, I got bored down in Texas and strippers.
Yeah, okay, that works.
You know, like to me, these two guys, like Vince is an absolute horn dog. You know, he's not
Yeah.
afraid to admit that he's a pervy, not like pervy, he's just a horn dog. You know, like
Yep.
I wouldn't say he's super creepy. The way he goes about stuff is creepy, but
Mhm.
he's open about his sexuality, so to speak. You know, his
Right.
affinity to kind of be engulfed by exotic and very grimy, greasy things. And I think old Danny Lee could definitely show up to a live tee box covered in glitter at some point. And I was expecting to see that, you know, when they played down in Vegas. So we'll have to see what old Danny Lee gets up to going forward now that he lives in Vegas, but he's living that good life now.
I had 2 honorable mentions for Masuka, or 2
right.
close ones.
Let's hear it.
One was Scotty because of his goofy laugh. If you've ever heard of
Yes.
Scotty,
Yes.
he's got a goofy laugh. And if it wasn't for Meredith, you know, if you listen to that conversation between Scotty and Meredith, Scotty literally says, we went to high school together. I wasn't even on her radar. And it was like until she found out he was a good golfer, that's how she got on his radar. If it wasn't for him being married, I think Scotty would just be one of those awkward dudes with women. Like,
facts.
So
Completely.
that's what I had as a comp. I also had Bryson DeChambeau.
Oh, yes.
Like
and
Bryson seems like a perfect comp.
It's
too.
just like you just know, like if you just moment you hear that, it's just like you can just come up with a whole bunch of things.
Yes, yeah,
right down the way, dude. I mean, nerdy, geeky, awkward as heck, and just a klutz. You know, a complete klutz. I love it. Dude,
oh, by the way, I chose Cantlay also because Masuka works with Dexter. He's like Dexter's right-hand man with everything. He's in the lab analyzing all the stuff with Dexter. Patrick Cantlay is on the policy board. So too is Tiger, and Tiger's my Dexter. That's how I did my comp.
Dude, you're doing a great job. Kenny Kim did one of the best jobs of linking everyone together, you know, in the thing. And you've done a phenomenal job of making sure the relationships are still kind of through on the secondary level. And
there was only, the Huerta and Batista. Like, I'm a perfectionist, so it bothers me that I couldn't link those two, but I'm like, I had to make it Ricky. Like, there's no way I wasn't going to make Batista Ricky. So
yes, no, you got to sacrifice on a few characteristics to kind of keep the thick plot going through there. T-Dak in the house, you're saying, shout out to Scheffler for a Rambo level hot F-bomb on the mic there.
I missed that.
At the waste management, complete and utter, like he covered his mouth and just completely ripped one. So I will kind of transition from that into my Rom comp, which is going to be Rudy, Dexter's brother that he didn't
Brian
know.
Moser was his actual name.
Moser, correct. Yeah. The ice truck killer, the guy that started dating Deb. I can totally see Scotty kind of having
John,
his sister dating someone that is a serial killer as well, and not kind of understanding that is the case. Yeah. But the main reason I went with him is because they both kind of following the same path in life. They both have this incredibly good reputation, you know, like they esteemed characters in their real world, but, you know, complete psychos. Scotty on the greens, John Rahm just in a Kaibo, you know, on the side of a green somewhere. But my main reason was Scotty and Rahm have gone head to head now in Ryder Cup match play in the singles, leading off the week, leading off that Sunday singles matchup slate. And Rudy did not manage to overcome Dexter. He did as good as they both are, as identical as they both are in their weird serial killer ways. He just couldn't get one over Dexter. And Rahm has not beaten Scotty in Ryder Cup match play yet. He has tied him, and he did it on the final hole to tie him up. He was losing to him the entire time. But Scotty beat Rahm in their first matchup, and that's kind of what trampolined Scotty into his world number one run right after taking care of business against him in that situation. And, you know, they both typically, I mean, Scotty's had tons of victories, so I won't quite call him an absolute killer, but he's a killer. And I guess Rahm, when he's in contention, I like it. You know, another killer as well. So epic comps there. I love what's going on. Let's dive into yours. Yeah, we got Harry Morgan as Earl Woods.
Yeah, I feel bad for bringing a deceased person on here, but who taught Tiger his code? His dad did,
Yes.
and Harry was the dad to Dexter. And if you listen to some of the hit pieces out there, you heard that Earl was perhaps, not as faithful to his wife as he should have been. I don't know if that's hearsay, like you listen to Tiger talk about it and he denies everything. So I think Tiger learned it somewhere though.
Like father, like son.
Exactly.
It's how it goes, right? And often you take on the best characteristics and the worst. That's just how it goes. And it's you. If you, I mean, he idolized his dad, right?
Exactly.
And so did Dexter was kept from unraveling and exposing himself to the world because of Harry. He owed everything he had to Harry. So, dude, spot on. Absolutely spot on. And doesn't have to be lots. It can just be one simple common thread. And this is the obvious one.
Yes, correct.
Boom. Thomas Matthews, what is he? What position?
Captain. And then becomes the chief deputy.
Yes. And Jay Monahan. Jay showing up again in Hacking in Hollywood. So RIP to Jay.
This is for obvious reasons. Thomas is the captain. Jay is literally the captain of, I should say literally, but figuratively, the captain of the PGA Tour players. Thomas is about public image, making sure everything looks good, saying what needs to be said to the public, to the press. I think that's exactly what Jay does. But then behind closed doors, it's a whole different story. It's we're doing this, we're doing that, and it's against what he says about the public. It's if you were to be in that show and you were part of the press, you would expect Thomas to be telling you the truth. But then once his crew goes out and does other things, it isn't the same. They don't match up. And the same thing happens with Jay. The things that Jay says don't match up for what he says to the press and what the players actually kind of say. Like, yeah, he didn't tell us that, or something to that effect.
And doing them dirty too, got these just complete sideswipe blindsides on guys that are really trying to make his world a better place as well, underneath him. So yeah, I mean the figure of authority obviously makes a ton of sense there, and nobody likes Jay anyway, because of everything he's done. All right,
correct.
My final one. And it is Frank Lundy as Max Homer.
Ooh.
That is not the correct person there. That is Phil Mickelson. That's who it's supposed to be. Like I said, obviously this was the last one to get done. That is not Max Homer. That is Phil Mickelson. And that is the comp I have for Frank Lundy. Both of these guys, both of them have achieved things and almost overachieved late in their life, way into their elderly ages. Frank retired, hunting down the Trinity Killer, getting so close that he gets pegged. Phil Mickelson won the PGA Championship at 50 years old. Talk about overachieving for your age. The guy's years away from being on the Champions Tour, and here he is winning, taking down Brooks Koepka, who's arguably one of the greatest major specialists of our era, and just completely taking him down at Kiowa Island. So I think that's definitely one aspect of their relationship together here. Another one being Frank Lundy's obsession with the Trinity Killer. He's obsessed. He's almost addicted to him in that way. And it ultimately ended up with him flying too close to the sun and getting whacked. Phil Mickelson, addiction, obsession with gambling, always having something on the line. That's basically the world that Phil thrives the best in. And I think, he flew too close to the sun, landed up with Billy Walters in jail, landed up, kind of having to go to live to kind of subsidize his gambling losses, kind of just flew too close to the gambling sun, couldn't get it together. So, and finally, talk about just a world of knowledge, a bit more positive spin on Phil. Yeah. The guy is a database of technique, game, course management, just perfect tips and tricks that he just can give to anybody in any situation. And I think Frank Lundy, obviously, one of the OG goated, serial killer hunters, like Dexter says to him. So I felt like that was a pretty solid comp there to end it off with.
I like it.
Yeah. So that's that. That's the Hacking in Hollywood portion there, buddy. I appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate the background. What was your favorite of the comps that you sent through?
My favorite?
Yeah.
I think for accuracy, it's Tiger.
Yeah.
I probably would I think Cantlay is my favorite comp, just because like I just can't not see Cantlay. I should say this. I just see Cantlay laughing like Masuka. Like there's this. Yeah, exactly, dude. And if you look at that picture where he wins the memorial and he's got that that smile, it's exactly what I envision. What's coming out of his mouth is a Masuka laugh.
Yes.
I also felt the same way with Scotty and also with Bryson. Just the nerdy goofiness that comes with it.
So you really like Masuka then, eh?
Yeah, I like cool the comp.
Yeah, he's a cool character. I loved it. Awesome, man. Well, Darbo, I've pumped up Sweet Spot. Tell the people what's cooking. Leave yourself. The floor is yours, my friend.
All right. Every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll go live. And the first hour I spend usually just going over all the data and information that I think is important for either you or for you to research or to do with whatever you want. And then after that, I will build lineups for anybody who comes into chat. I usually ask, give me 2 to 4 golfers you want me to build lineups around. And then we use the bucket system. We use the optimizer to build lineups based off the rules that I have already put in place the hour before. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about for that first hour, it doesn't matter. Come into the chat, give me 2 to 4 golfers to build lineups around, and I'll do just that. And if you like them, use them. Me and someone from chat, I was building lineups for him. I kind of stole it and put it into a contest. We got really close to winning the mini max last week. It performed 1.5 points worse than the one that I won $1,500 with.
Wow. Yeah.
And then at the Sony, someone from chat wanted me to build a lineup. I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. He won the mini max with that lineup. So there's something's going right with the Sweet Spot process. And if you just come in with 2 to 4 golfers, I'll build you lineups. And then it's just a hangout session.
It is so much fun, dude.
Yeah, it's just I like to talk about golf. I like to nerd out about golf.
Yeah.
If you want my opinion on anything, I'll provide it. I try my best to look at everyone in chat and answer every question as best as I can. Sometimes chat will go by fast and I can't, catch every one of them, but I try.
Yeah. No, and I'm huge fan of your show too. It's fun to be in the chat there with you, and it was great to have you on the show. I now 4 hours and 18 minutes is your longest stream. I've been doing the Sunday night research stream.
I think it's 4 hours and 8 minutes. I think Shot Like Harden just boosted it up just to be a good guy.
I may have to do a 4 hours 20 just to make sure I take care of business.
Okay. Good luck, sir.
And I think, that would be right before the Masters. I don't know. Who the hell knows when it happens. But yeah, me and you are going back and forth to try and see who can do the longest stream. But we've both pretty much been in each other's there when it's happened to a degree. Yes. I wasn't there for that one, but we really encourage each other to put out some good stuff there. So I really appreciate you being on the show again, my friend. Had a blast talking Dexter with you. Had a blast making you make some tough decisions. And I will be back on Back Nine Bets this Sunday for the research show. So that'll be when I pop on. Yeah, I think 9 Central. So 10
I'll
Eastern.
probably be there for this one.
Yeah. So we'll do that for the Cognizant Classic out there in the West Palms area and see how the boys do. So till then, folks, don't forget to use code NEW at rotoballer.com for 30% off, and we will catch you guys later.